Thanks for joining us in the garden today. We are here with Craig from Grange Co-op, and we are talking about all the different fertilizer types, specifically what the numbers on the box mean, because you don't just go into the store and pick out the one that speaks to you because it's pink and pretty. So what do people need to know about the different types of fertilizers? How do they know how to pick out the right one? Yeah, so one of the most common questions that we would get is people look at a fertilizer, you go in, like you said, there's a whole aisle of different fertilizers, different types, different pitchers, different brands. But one of the things people notice is that every fertilizer has 3 numbers prominently on the front. And those all stand for the same thing. They're there by law. They have to say those 3 numbers. The first one is nitrogen, and what nitrogen does is that produces a lot of the green foliar growth on the plant, so the green growth. So something like a lawn, anything with the grass, corn, things like that that are just mainly green growth, they need a lot of that first number. The second number is phosphorus, and that's what the plants use a lot of that for, both for root development, but also the fruiting and flowering of the plant. So if you see a fertilizer that has a really high middle number, that's generally going to be because we are trying to produce a lot of fruit and we're wanting to push the blooms maybe on a plant. So on like a hanging basket later in the season when we're just wanting to push a lot of flowers, you might see a fertilizer with a higher middle number. So this guy? Yes, something like a bone meal here that has a lot of, it has some nitrogen, has a lot of phosphorus. That is one. And then the last number is potassium, and that's more the overall health of the plant. Some plants need more than others, and we have fertilizers that are more one thing or another. Like you said, bone meal is mostly phosphorus. It's got it's by 15% phosphorus, a lot of phosphorus. Langbonite here is it's potassium. It doesn't have any nitrogen or phosphorus. And then blood meal is all nitrogen. It doesn't have any of the phosphorus or potassium. So those are like, if you wanted to buy just one thing that's going to push one thing, those are products that would do that. But most fertilizers that we carry are going to be some kind of a blend of those things. So BioTurf here is something that you would put on a lawn, and you'll notice the numbers. It has a higher first number, a lower middle number, and also a lower end number. So a lot of nitrogen, not so much phosphorus, not so much potassium. Things like a vegetable garden fertilizer here is an even number. And that's something that's going to be a well-balanced. It's not trying to push just one thing. It's for plants that need both. And that's what most of your fertilizers are going to be, some kind of a blend. The thing to remember is, and people ask this a lot, is they'll see one fertilizer has relatively low numbers. This one is a 444. If you come into our stores, you might see another fertilizer that's like a 20-20-20. And they'll say, well, what is the difference in that? And the big thing is to remember about all of your numbers is that what matters a lot is the ratio between the numbers. So if it's even numbers, you're going to use it for the same type of thing. So you'd use a 444 for the same thing as like a 12-12-12 or a 20-20-20. As long as those numbers are the same, then you're going to be using that as more of an all-purpose general one. So what matters a lot more than the actual number, how big the number is, how small the number is the ratio between the numbers. Okay, so if let's say that you just had a 444 in your cabinet and you're sitting there and you're thinking, oh, well, I need it for my grass. I can use it because it's, it's relatively close to 835. I mean, just one off for a couple of those numbers. Is that what that would do is it would help your lawn. Your lawn, it would get the nitrogen it needs. But if you put an even number fertilizer, say on a lawn, what that does is it gives the weeds, a lot of your weeds needs more of the other numbers. So if you use an even numbered fertilizer on your lawn, you are giving your lawn what it needs, but you're also giving the weeds what they need as well. So so generally on a lawn, you want to give it a fertilizer that has a really high number on the front number and then lower numbers behind it, and that will feed your lawn without feeding your weeds. Okay. So it's not that the even numbers would necessarily hurt your grass, but it's more conducive to a better lawn if you can kind of try to starve out the weeds at the same time. So really, if you're wanting to invest in your garden this spring, this summer, you are going to want to get fertilizers that are tailored to your specific needs. It's not one fits all. Yes, there are some, like I said, there are general purpose fertilizers that you can kind of use on a bunch of different things. But if there's real specific things, I'm going to do a vegetable garden, I'm going to do a hanging basket, I'm going to fertilize my lawn, things like that are pretty specific.
For that, I would recommend coming in, talking to us, tell us what your project is, what you're doing. We can steer you in the right direction, kind of giving you a little more, look at what your different options are. But yeah, it's certainly not a one-size-fits-all. You definitely do want to, on certain projects, you certainly want to be doing a fertilizer that's more tailored to what you're doing.
Perfect. Okay, well, thank you. And thanks for joining us in the garden today. For all of your fertilizer needs, head on into Grange Co-op. They can help you out getting what you need for your garden this spring, and we'll see you back here in the garden.